What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of UFC Fight Night here on the Run Pierce Sports channel, talking UFC 277, big pay-per-view on this July 30th. I'm joined, as usual, by Title. What's going on, man?
What's going on, DC? A little pay-per-view card, nothing better than pay-per-view. It's always nice talking fights on Saturday morning. Got 13 of them, 2 title fights, even though I hate the interim title fights, championship belts that we have in this sport. One of the dumber things of the sport. But hey, 2 5-rounders, the rematch, Nunes Peña, one of the biggest upsets. Some good prelim fights too. Some ones that are like, is it pay-per-view worthy? Probably not. But hey, 13 fights, great DFS card. Unlike last week, where we saw like minus 300 every single fight. A lot of closely lined fights this week, so that makes it fun for DFS. Good prize pools out there. Excited to talk some fights.
Yeah, 13 fights. No keg today, so the two-man booth will do our best here between Title and I to give you the betting takes as well, breaking down all 13 fights. And if you're wondering, yes, I am laying on a pillow. DC's had a setback with the back injury, but we're good. The mind is sharp, and we're ready to pick some winners here for UFC 277. With that, let's jump into the card. First fight on the night, Orion Kosei and Blood Diamond, who is a fairly big underdog here, sitting around plus 175. Kick us off, Title. How do you break this one down?
Blood Diamond is back. He made his UFC debut, actually the first card I went to in Houston, which feels like a long time ago now. He's Izzy's boy. He's very little MMA experience, only 4 MMA fights. He's a kickboxer at the end of the day. He's had the kickboxing background. But I mean, when you get guys like that with very little MMA experience, you need the whole game. You need the grappling. You need the takedown defense. You need all of that. And it doesn't look like Blood Diamond has it. He did fight a really tough opponent in his first fight, Jeremiah Wells. Jeremiah Wells is definitely a very good fighter, definitely better than Orion Kosei. But he came down, he took him down right away, and he ended up finishing him in the first round. I think Orion Kosei, what is he? He's a wrestler at the end of the day. I don't expect him to want to strike with Blood Diamond. Now, we saw his first fight, his UFC debut against Philip Rowe, which is a pretty solid opponent. He had success in the first round with the wrestling, but then he gassed out in the second round and ended up getting finished. So I think Orion Kosei early for sure. I think he does have success with the takedowns. I think he can style on him on the mat. There's definitely levels difference there, but the gas tank is a little concerned. So if he doesn't finish him in the first half of this fight, I'm concerned because then we know how much energy it takes to wrestle. Then if Blood Diamond gets it on the feet, he is levels above Kosei in the striking. So you get a clash of styles to start it off. I lean with the wrestler here, especially with very little MMA experience from Blood Diamond. And Kosei has a big path to a big score. I mean, if he takes this down, the control time, the takedowns, this fight is supposed to end inside the distance. I think Kosei gets it done. I do think he gets it done inside the distance. More of a bet against Blood Diamond and his grappling, or his defensive grappling, the takedowns. But yeah, it should be a fun fight to start it off for sure with, I mean, levels above Blood Diamond is on the feet, levels above Kosei is on the mat. So always fun to target those fights for DFS.
Yeah, we don't see these like true clash of styles that much anymore, right? Like MMA fighters are more well-rounded than ever, but this one seems pretty cut and dry on what the path to victory for each fighter is. And when one fighter, Blood Diamond, we're talking about his takedown defense, chops on the mat, appears to be just so far behind. I think what is the general level for the UFC in those cases? I'm going to take the wrestler, so I'm with you. Give me Orion here. And yeah, for DFS, he's expensive, 8,800 for a moderate favorite. But like you said, we could see a lot of control time, potentially a lot of ground and pound strikes landed, that type of thing. So I do think he's a pretty strong play for DFS purposes. Move on to the next fight quickly here. Ihor Potieria and Nikolai Nagagromino. Butchered that one completely. You'll do better than I. But yeah, this one close fight, basically a coin flip. It is Nikolai who is the slight favorite.
Yeah, I just say Ihor and Nick. It makes it very easy to talk about. Yeah, so this is an interesting one. I mean, you look at the lines. So when I wrote the playbook yesterday, let's see if the lines. Yeah, so you go on best fight odds. DraftKings says this fight, Nikolai or Nick minus 120, Ihor plus 100. You look at 5 dimes, Ihor's minus 157, Nikolai plus 137. There's a couple.
See that.
That's what I'm saying. There's a couple on this card that you look and it's just completely different, which I always talk about price shopping, but very, very interesting to see 2 books, 2 of the bigger books for sure, have different favorites and by a pretty wide margin in this fight. Now it's 8,400, 7,800 in this one. People are going based on the DraftKings odds. You got him favorite, $600 cheaper, and Nikolai at minus 120. But again, if you look at 5 dimes, you don't. How I look at this fight, Ihor's making his UFC debut. The dude has fought absolute bums before this. He has a good record for sure. He looks like he's going to be a complete stud coming in here. He does have some power on the feet, even though he is wild. But he has fought some complete cans. Where at least you look at Nikolai, he's making his 5th walk to the UFC octagon. He has a 3-1 record. Couple split decisions, a couple that maybe could have went the other way, but he's known as a wrestler, even though we really haven't seen his wrestling too much in the UFC. His hands have been decent. He has some power in his hands. He knocked out Ike Villanueva, but everyone can do that, so that's not too much. But yeah, man, the biggest thing about him, he has himself a chin DC. And when someone will walk forward, they can take a shot and they trust their chin to give a shot. Ihor has power for sure. I think Nick's chin is good enough to eat some of the shots. And Ihor, I don't know what his takedown defense. I don't know what his defensive grappling is. I think Nikolai just has way more path to victory in this one. I think he can be competitive on the feet. I think he can even win striking exchanges, maybe even knock out Ihor at the end of the day. This is by far the biggest level up in competition he has fought. And then I think Nikolai can really go to the mat in this one. And again, we haven't seen it too much in the UFC. That's what he has been known for. I think there's a clear path to victory for him there. So I guess the underdog, but the underdog, so to speak, in DraftKings price is a $600 cheaper fighter. The guy that has UFC experience, the guy that's fought the way better competition, the guy that has more paths to victory. It just all makes sense to me. So Nikolai is my pick in this one. But you look at it, it's minus 200 to finish. It's a mid-tier fight. I think it's going to be it's a good one to target for sure in DFS. A lot of these are good fights in DFS, but Nikolai is my pick. I think he has more passive victory.
Yeah, I think we'll see some fairly spread out ownership DFS wise. There's a bunch of close fights, like you mentioned. I like the Nikolai pick. Anytime you can get a fighter that you think you can win the fight in multiple ways, right? Maybe compared to the other guy who has a more kind of one-sided path to victory. I do like going with the more well-rounded fighter there. And I do wonder if that best fight, I don't have a 5 dimes account at the moment, but I do wonder if that line is just off on best fight ads, because it's like minus 120 exactly everywhere else, and then all the way on the other side plus 137. So interesting if that's true. I don't know what's going on there, but certainly something to keep an eye on as we do get closer to fight time. Next fight,
I was trying to look. I couldn't even figure it out. Someone in chat can let us know.
Yeah, pretty rare to have it that big of a discrepancy.
That's what I was saying.
When it's pretty uniform across the board otherwise. So we'll see. But we'll go to the next fight, to the women's division. Jocelyn Edwards and Jiyeon Kim. It is Edwards, who's a moderate favorite here, sitting around minus 130, minus 135 or so. I don't see any big discrepancies across the board in terms of the bookmaking line. So Edwards, Kim, break it down for us, Title.
Yeah, this line opened pretty much the opposite. It opened Kim minus 150, Edwards plus 130. Edwards is taking some steam. I think a lot of that has to do with Edwards fought less than 2 months ago against Ramona Pascual. The fight was at 145, and she looked pretty decent, actually. There was a time in that fight that she looked like she was very tired, that looked like she was going to gas, and she turned it up in the 3rd round and landed a ton of significant strikes. I really liked her push kick. She had a very nice front kick. She threw the leg kicks. You know how I like that. She has some power in the hands for sure. She landed like 150 significant strikes in that fight or something crazy. She scored 90 or 164 significant strikes she landed in that fight. She scored 99 DraftKings points, and the fight was on the feet pretty much the whole time. I think we see the exact same thing in this fight. Both the girls land good volume, over 5 significant strikes per minute. I don't think either of them are really going to go to the takedowns. Kim has better grappling, but you just never see it in the UFC. I think this is a high-paced fight. Both girls throwing a ton of volume. I think we could see the winner score 100 points, the winner land over 150 significant strikes in DraftKings. Now the question is, this fight's plus 225 to finish. It's by far the most likely card to go to decision. I think it goes to decision as well. We don't see too many takedowns. I don't think we see takedowns. I don't think we see ground control. We have a lot of fights on this card expected to finish. So that's where I went back and forth. I'm not going to go too crazy overweight on this fight on either of the girls. I'm not going to go too crazy underweight. It's one of those fights where I don't have the best gauge. Like, I think I know the girls are going to score 90 to 100 points because of the good significant strikes, but I don't know if that's going to be enough on this card with so many finishes. So I don't want this fight to be me any single way. I think it's a good fight though for volume wise. I don't think we see a finish. I think we see about 90 to 100 points from both of them, which I will take for sure, but I don't know if it's optimal. My pick I'm just gonna say Jocelyn Edwards because I do like the kicks. I like what I saw for last time. She didn't miss weight by 1.5 pounds. It is worth noting. So did Orion Kosei. The first fight we broke down. Kosei missed weight by 1.5 pounds. The only two misses. I'm not weighing those too much. They're not changing my mind, but it is worth noting. I think we see a good, close, striking affair. I think we can see the split decision. I can almost promise you Keg is on that split decision, and I think it is a good one to be on. I'll say Edwards, but I think we get a striking, a lot of volume in this fight.
This is definitely a good one to be on the split decision, closely lined, and we think a striking battle where you could easily see a fight here where
I don't bet every split, but I'll hop on this one.
I'm with you. Keg is adamant that if you're going to bet one split, you got to bet them all. I disagree. I like to go for the stand-up battles that are supposed to be close fights, and those are the ones where like each and every round, each judge could score it either way, and that's where you get the good chance at the split decision. Did you make your official pick on this one?
Yeah, I'm saying Edwards because of the kicks, but
Edwards because of the kicks. But
I mean, close. I wouldn't put money on it.
Edwards kind of had that classic lot of strikes, get the win, but only 99 DraftKings points in the last one, right? 175 strikes, 164 of which were ruled significant. And
that's the thing with like women's MMA. Everything is deemed significant. It feels like, does it not? In women's MMA?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of think they should just do strikes. I mean, who's really deciding if they're significant or not? You know what I mean?
But it feels like women's always. But if you tell me winner gets 99.
They don't want to get canceled by calling the women's strikes insignificant.
That they don't, but I mean, like, so you give me 99 in this fight, like I'm gonna play some 99 for sure. Like, who knows what the rest? You'll make people catch up in a 99 in a mid-tier fight. That's why I don't see a finish, but we could see scores. But yeah, who knows? This fight's not going to beat me regardless, whether it's awful, whether it's great. I will have some of both.
Sounds like you're going to be somewhat close to the field on both those fighters, and there's nothing wrong with that in DFS. Sometimes that's the approach you got to take when you're playing as many entries as you do title. Let's go to the next fight on the card. Adam, is it Fugit? Is it Fugit? I don't know.
It's Adam gonna get his ass beat, unfortunately.
Yeah. I think he's not gonna perform super well here. Michael Morales, one of the two huge favorites on this card. He's sitting between -600 and -700. Ankalaev later is in the same range. Those are really the only two truly lopsided fights. So we obviously know DFS wise, a guy like Morales is going to be popular. Undefeated fighter, has scored really well in his fights. He's 9,500. Is he the most expensive fighter on the card? I believe he is. So we know the ownership is going to be high on him, but I'll probably be riding the Morales train anyway. I'm guessing you're going to be doing a similar thing, Title. This one looks pretty damn lopsided to me.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you. I mean, I said 2 fight cards ago, I think it was, that Kyle Bahio was your guy, DC. I think it was Michael Morales, this guy that you were talking about. I know there was one fight.
I wasn't quite sure, but I'm like, I don't remember this guy, but Morales I do really like.
I was gonna say, I think it was Morales because I mean they're kind of similar fighters.
The memory's fading in the old age, so I didn't want to be like,
no, not this guy. No, I think because when I was writing it up and doing, I'm like, this is the guy. I think because the UFC debut, closely lined fight, he actually goes out there and destroys them. You were all over Michael Morales in this one. I mean, this kid's really young. He's undefeated. His future is really, really bright, man. He gets a short notice replacement, and if you get there's so much going against him this one. I'll be on Morales against very good fighters. He was supposed to fight Ramiz Brahimaj, who's not really good. He's costing me a lot of money for sure, but he's definitely better than Fugit, or he's supposed to be. And Morales is over a -300 favorite against someone who's fought UFC competition for sure, which I just think shows you this guy's very, very promising, good on the feet, good on the mat. Going to be a problem for a long time, I think. And Fugit just has a lot going against him. So I'm going to save some time. I mean, I think Morales finishes in the first round, maybe second, maybe third. I would be surprised to see it go to decision, but he's 9,500. I think he's worth 9,500. And I think we see a lot of dogs on this card. So I definitely like myself some Morales.
Yeah, I think I'm going to play 10 lineups today, and I'm trying to basically hit the lock button on Morales. And,
if there was one fighter to do it on, this would be my favorite as well.
If that doesn't go my way, then, it is what it is. But Morales, I think, is gonna win this one, is going to win it handily, and I think he's going to score pretty damn well too. So get as much Morales, at least from where I'm sitting, into your lineups as possible. Next fight on the card, Drakkar Klose is minus 200-ish against Rafa Garcia. This fight, in terms of going the distance or not, it's actually favored to go to decision. So oftentimes those fights are ones that we don't want to be overly enthusiastic about DFS wise. What do you see here? Title between Klose and Garcia.
Yeah, this fight, like you said, is supposed to go to decision, and that's because Drakkar Klose has been known for being a decision machine, whereas Rafa Garcia has never been finished. He's been very durable. So it makes sense. But I will say, like, Drakkar Klose, I mean, you look at him, his last fight out against Brandon Jenkins, who definitely is not good. He finally does pick up a finish win. His fight before that, Beneil Dariush, I mean, what a fight that was. He almost finished it, ended up getting finished in the second round. Drakkar Klose is what I put in the playbook, one of the most underrated fighters in the UFC, I think. You never hear anyone talk about him. He's 12-2, his only 2 losses, Beneil Dariush, David Tamor. He has some good wins in there. Lando Venata, Bobby Green, Christos Giagos. He's just a solid fighter everywhere. Now, he had that scare. He's always going to be known for when him and Jeremy Stevens were facing off and Stevens shoved him, DC. And then, like, Drakkar Klose had to pull out. He was out for, like, over a year. He had, like, backlash or something. I don't know. Like, it was a pretty severe thing, I guess, even though it didn't look too – I mean, it was a shove, but you never know. So that is a little concerning. It always will be. But, man, looked good last time out. He's just very, very well-rounded. Rafa Garcia has taken this fight on short notice. He's 13-2. He's a primary wrestler at the end of the day. Now, he's an interesting fighter because he came to the UFC against Nasrat Haqparast. He lost, but he made a pretty good account for himself. I was impressed with him. I thought Nasrat was better than probably what he is now, knowing now, but he made a good account of himself. I was on him heavily against Chris Grutzmacher as a big favorite. Grutzmacher has not been very good. He should walk right through him. 3 minutes in the fight, he's unloading on him, almost finishes him, and he just has no cardio after that. Loses to Chris Grutzmacher, so I write this guy off. I'm like, you lose to Grutzmacher, I cannot back you anymore. He then beats Natan Levy, solid. Jesse Ronson, he finishes, solid, I guess. But those guys are not even close to the level of Drakkar Klose. I think Klose does get it done. I think it is more than likely a decision, but he's going to be very low. I mean, not very low owned. He's going to be one of the lowest owned fighters in the upper tier because I play so many lineups, CC. If I think someone's going to win, I'm not going to have too much of the underdog since I don't think he wins. And I do think he will be one of the more popular dogs on the card, Rafa Garcia. I'm going to get some Drakkar Klose. He's only plus 240 to end inside the distance. He does have power. Now, of course, Garcia never been finished. Drakkar Klose, mainly a decision. More likely is decision. I will take the lower ownership, though, and someone I think is going to win when I have plenty of other dogs on this card that I do think come through. I'm going to play myself some Drakkar Klose. Definitely have a lot more than him, than Rafa Garcia, taking the favor in this one.
Any chance Klose tries to take this to the mat with wrestling?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't be the most of, like, if Rafa Garcia starting to get
just last 2 fights.
Yeah, if that's just like where Rafa wants it, and I think he'll have the striking advantage. But if Garcia starts to gas and stuff, maybe he does mix it up a little bit. I mean, when he's on top, he's definitely safe. Like, Garcia's not going to be pulling no Charles Oliveira or something like that. So I wouldn't be the most shocked, but I think he'll have enough success on the feet. I think this is a high-paced fight. I think we could see 120 plus significant strikes in this one.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It should be a good one, I think, between Klose and Garcia. Next fight on the card, Dante Mays is a minus 200-ish favorite, really similar odds to the last fight, Klose and Garcia over Hamdi Abdelwahab. Mays minus 200. I've been kind of impressed looking at him a little bit. Interested to hear your thoughts on these two guys and what you expect. What's up?
Yeah. DC, try and come get out of Zoom, come back in. Yeah, I'm losing you a little bit. Try and come out and come back in. I'll break down this fight if you can hear me. But yeah, Dante Mays and Hamdi. I'm just gonna call him Handy. Man, this is we talk about bad level of competition for Ihor down there. Hamdi has had awful MMA competition. He's 5-0, fought absolute cans on the regional scene. He's known for his wrestling. He is an Olympic wrestler out of Egypt, I believe. Now, he didn't do anything at the Olympic Games, but still, if you can make the Olympics as a wrestler, you're doing something right in that department. So Hamdi's going to want to come in here. I expect him to shoot a lot of takedowns or try to shoot a lot of takedowns, since I don't think he'll have anything for Don'Tale Mayes on the feet. Now, how good is Hamdi's wrestling translate to MMA? I don't really know at the end of the day. I mean, the regional scene, you couldn't see much tape. He fought so many cans. You just could not tell what kind of fighter he is going to be. But I'm fading the Hamdi that I think we're going to see, and I don't think we're going to see a good dude at all. Again, cans, only one-dimensional in the wrestling. Who even knows how well it's going to translate? And Don'Tale Mayes is a UFC. He's been in the UFC. He's making his 5th walk to the octagon. He's fought way better competition. He's a massive, massive dude in this one. He's going to have a 4-inch height advantage, a 9-inch reach advantage on this one. He has power in his hands. I think he keeps distance on the feet. I think he pieces up Hamdi. I think he eventually does finish Hamdi. I don't know what the cardio of the dude's going to look like when he does go for the takedowns. If he does get the takedown, I'm going to hope Don'Tale Mayes can get back up to the feet or at least survive, but I'm going to expect that Don'Tale keeps the range. He doesn't even get the takedowns. Pretty much as a fade of Hamdi making his UFC debut, since there's so many unknowns, more so the bet on Don'Tale Mayes. But man, I'll take the guy with the MMA experience, who's fought the way better competition, who's been in the UFC octagon against a guy that has fought 5 professional fights against all bums, and just because he has the Olympic wrestling background. So I'm going to go with Don'Tale Mayes in this one.
You get to finish?
I do.
Yeah, it makes sense. 8,500, not a bad price tag there. If he can get the job done early, could certainly find his way onto the optimal. Let's go to the next fight on the card. Longtime UFC veteran. One of my favorites. He's made me some money in the past. Drew Dober, modest favorite, minus 170 or so against Rafael Alves. How do you see this one going down, Title?
This one is going to be absolutely fun. I mean, Drew Dober's last fight against Terrence McKinney, all Terrence McKinney fights are fun, as we know, but took a beating in the first 2 minutes. McKinney gassed a little bit. He catches them. Rafael Alves, though, he's been our boy. Last fight, cashes a big dog against Mark Diakese, who Mark Diakese's on a good run himself, too. Very high. I mean, this is a high-level fight. This is going to be a very fun fight. Dober opened minus 300. Now the line's about minus 170,
Crazy.
145 Alves. And I agree with that line movement. My pick in this one is the dog. I am going with Rafael Alves in this fight. I mean, the dude is just dangerous, dangerous, dangerous is all I got to say. Massive power on the feet, big movements on the feet. And then once he hurts you or once it hits the mat or anything, his grappling, his guillotine is nasty for sure. Drew Dober, we know him. He's a very good fighter. He's fought very good competition. He could be on the back end of his career mainly. I'm not saying that, but man, how many wars has he been in? How many fights has he been in? Is he in his prime? Maybe, I don't know. But Rafael Alves, as a dog at 7,200, I think this fight does get finished. I think if he does win, it probably is in the first half of the fight, since he can slow down a little bit. But he had a competitive fight against Damir Uzmagulov. He lost it for sure, but still, we know how good Damir is. He lost unanimous decision. The Mark Diakese fight. Dober puts himself in firefights, as we have seen, and Alves is just not a guy that you want to do that with. I mean, McKinney almost finished him multiple times. Alves is kind of a similar fighter to McKinney in the aspect of they both have a lot of power. They're both dangerous wherever the fight goes. I'm going to take the dog shot on a firefight that I'm expecting to be very high pace, that both guys are going to be swinging. Give me the dog that has power to knock him out, that has a submission game to knock him out. I like Alves in this one.
Yeah, it makes sense. Dober has just thrown complete caution to the wind in his last 4 or 5 fights. It makes for a really exciting style, but it also makes him a fun player to roster against in DFS, because he's been, even the fights he wins, he's been getting rocked early and then making comebacks, and just a lot of action early on the Drew Dober fights, which, yeah, I totally get the Alves call. I'll have exposure to both these guys. I do think this one's got a good chance to finish, in the first round, or maybe the first part of the second round, something like that. So I'm certainly expecting fireworks between Dober and Alves.
We got Tim Allen in chat. Dober's career just getting started. Bad take title. Never heard someone 33 years old, 24-11 with their career just getting started, man. That is he's going to fight more times than Alexei Oleinik, I guess. That is.
I'm a Dober fan as well, but I don't know about the career just getting started thing.
I mean, he's got plenty of fights, probably, for sure. Is he in his prime? I don't know. Is his career just getting started? That's definitely a hot take. If he fights over 70 times, Tim Allen would, I'll give you your props later.
Okay, I'll be sure to remember that in the year 2043 to
Yep.
bring that one back up. Alex Moreno, underdog here against Matthew Semelsberger. It is Semelsberger, who is a minus 160-ish favorite. Go ahead, Title. What do you think between Moreno and Semelsberger?
So this is another fight that is supposed to go to decision. We don't have too many. It's kind of a coin flip. It's closer, but plus 120, I'm seeing. If like you want to try and if you're only playing like one lineup or two lineups, I think this would be one of the fights that I don't get to personally.
Yeah.
But it's closely lined fight, 8,600, 7,600. Semelsberger is the bigger fighter in this one. He has more power on the feet for sure. He's more dangerous. If someone does finish this fight, I think it is Semelsberger. But I'm just expecting a pretty competitive fight in this one. Alex Moreno is no joke by any means. He's better when the fight's on the mat. His grappling is solid. His wrestling is pretty solid. We don't see him shoot for too many takedowns. I wouldn't be surprised if he tries it to against Matthew Semelsberger. Maybe has some success, but I'm going to expect this fight mainly plays out on the feet for 15 minutes. I don't think Moreno is going to knock out Semelsberger. And on a card like this, when I think I picked Alves, we're going to get plenty of other live dogs on this card that I think can put up 100 points and get the finish win. I really don't think Moreno does have that finishing upside. So for that reason, at 7,600, I'm just not going to get to him as much, even though I wouldn't be surprised to see a win at all. I would just hope it's like a 75 point, 80 point win. As far as Semelsberger, I think he'll be one of the lower owned fighters in the upper tier. He does have power to finish. He's plus 215 to finish. But again, I think the more likely outcome is this fight goes to decision. It is pretty competitive. I think Semelsberger wins. I think his height and reach advantage, his power on the feet, I think he can have a little success there. But I think at the end of the day, maybe even a split decision on this one. If I had to go to another one, it would be this one. But I think mainly a decision. 13 fights on the card. I like 11 of them, 12 of them. I like all of them at the end of the day. But for DFS wise, you can't play everything. This would be one of the fights I wouldn't have as much interest. I think this one has the likelihood of the optimal is lower than pretty much all the other ones. So Semelsberger is my pick. He has some upside, so I'll have more of him.
Yeah, makes sense. I see a close fight as well, but one that's probably not going to score particularly well unless we get a surprise early round finish out of. I think Semelsberger is a more likely one to finish it early, as you said. But DFS wise, I agree. One of the least interesting fights on the card. Let's get to the next big favorite. It is Magomed Ankalaev. Been super impressive in the UFC so far, and it is reflected in the line here, minus 550, minus 600, and climbing against longtime veteran and very good fighter Anthony Smith. So a lot of respect for Ankalaev here. I think it's more that than the lack of respect for Anthony Smith, who can still fight, I think. So curious, do you think this line is justified? And then DFS wise is interesting because in his last couple of fights, Ankalaev has been dominant, but hasn't scored that well DFS wise. Kind of an accurate but somewhat low volume striker is mostly what we've seen out of him so far. So an interesting fight, I think, from a lot of different perspectives.
Yeah, no, this is definitely an interesting one. So I've been saying Ankalaev is a future champ for a couple of fights now, for a little bit. The 205 division just isn't really good. He's very well-rounded, is Ankalaev, though, on the feet, whether he mixes in his wrestling, all that. Do I think this line's warranted, though? Absolutely not. I don't think this line's warranted. If I have to pick, if I have to bet one guy, am I laying minus 600 or I'm taking the dog money for sure. Anthony Smith is game every single fight he steps in. The man is a finisher. He's always been known as a finisher. You look at, he is getting up there in age, but the Jimmy Crute fight, I thought was the best Anthony Smith.
I mean, he's won 3 in a row in the first round.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he comes in there, he brings it every time. I think his Anthony Smith win, or his own self. I think the Jimmy Crute win was his best win. That was where he gave him the drop leg. He was attacking the low kicks early. Jimmy Crute fought a poor game plan, but we saw pretty much a whole round of that fighting at range against a really good fighter in Crute, and he looked impressive. Now, at the end of the day, when I say the line's too wide, my pick still is going to be Ankalaev. If I'm saying the dude's a future champ, you have to expect him to get by Anthony Smith in this one. But I don't like this fight a lot for DFS. We're talking about fights, last fight, Semelsberger, all of that. You mentioned it. Ankalaev, he fights how his opponents will fight him at the end of the day. He's not going to overexert himself. He's not going to put himself in a bad position. His chin is actually kind of questionable, which is a concern. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets knocked out pretty soon. At the end of the day, Anthony Smith can knock him out, and I wouldn't be the most shocked since I am worried about that chin. However, at range, I think he keeps the distance. I think the push kicks, body kicks are going to be a big thing for Ankalaev. Anthony Smith has never taken body kicks well. I think the low kicks on both sides going to be pretty good. It's at the end of the day, this fight's going to determine what Anthony Smith do we see in the octagon. Is he going to fight how he usually does, and that just push the pace, try and finish the fight in the first round? I'm leaning more so he's not going to, because he's going to respect Ankalaev at distance. He's going to respect the takedowns that Ankalaev can mix in. And if this fight's fought at range, it's going to be a boring fight at the end of the day, I think. And I think it's going to go to decision if that's the case. It's scary to fade or to not play too much of a minus 600 favorite. But at the end of the day, I think he wins. I think he wins by decision. And I just like so many of the other fights on this one better. So I won't have too much of this one, hoping for Ankalaev by decision.
Yeah, for me, this will be a rare minus 500, minus 600 fight where I actually have more of the underdog in my lineups. I'll have more Smith than I do Ankalaev. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I could just easily see a kind of a boring-ish decision from Ankalaev that doesn't score well from DFS. So 9,400 will be a fade for me for the most part. And, you know, obviously things could go wrong, but I think he'll be more owned than he should be based on, you know, how this fight could potentially go down. So that's Smith, Ankalaev, next fight on the card. Another one that should be pretty good, pretty closely contested, I think. Alexandre Pantoja minus 190 against Alex Perez plus 165 on DraftKings. Title, we know Perez has those sick leg kicks, so must be someone that you're maybe interested in taking the dog here. Talk to us about Perez and Pantoja.
Man, this is probably my favorite fight on the card, to be honest. I mean, maybe the Nunes Peña, maybe Moreno Kaikar, probably would be the Kaikar of France or this one. But this fight is so high level. Man, Alexander Pantoja, like, what can you say bad about Pantoja? Already beat Kaikar of France, already beat Brandon Moreno. He's fought the best of the best. He's just a complete stud wherever the fight goes. On the feet, he just snipes his opponents at range. He can mix in the takedowns himself. Will he in this fight? Probably not, because Alex Perez, I think, might mix him himself. But if this fight hits the mat, Perez is a very good wrestler. I actually favor Alexander Pantoja on the mat with the scramblings, with his grappling. Alex Perez has lost 6 times. 4 of those losses have come by submission, whereas Pantoja has 9 submission wins. And he's known, I mean, he's known for everything. He's one of the most well-rounded fighters we've seen in the UFC. But I think he can out-grapple Alex Perez and finish him. However, on the feet, I think it is going to be competitive. You mentioned the leg kicks from Alex Perez. I had a lot of Alex Perez against Figgy in his last fight in the title fight. And Perez was having success early with the leg kicks at range. He goes in, he tries to shoot for a takedown. Very bad game plan because Figgy gets the neck, nasty guillotine, and finishes it that way. But he was having success before that. The problem is that was his last fight, DC. That was a little under 2 years ago, 1 year and 8 months. He's had 6 fights fall out since that fight, which is absolutely crazy. So he has a little longer layoff in this one, which is a little concern. But at the end of the day, I just don't really bet against Alexander Pantoja. I think he's a stud wherever the fight goes. I know what I'm going to get. I know I'm getting the good cardio. I know I'm getting good striking. I know if it hits the mat, he's probably going to be winning the scrambles. I think it's a very high-level fight. It's a fight I'm going to have both guys of. But at the end of the day, I just can't pick against Alexander Pantoja. There's not really too much more to add. Like, I don't have anything negative to say about Alex Perez at all. It's a great fight for sure. Pantoja's just been there, done that against the best of the best, and I think he gets it done again. But man, it's a great fight. Like, I wish I had more conviction on it. It's just one of the guys I just pretty much always back, and I think he's a complete stud. I'm just going to keep backing him at the end of the day until he shows me not to. But great fight. I'll have both in DFS. My favorite fight in the card, like I said, I think.
Yeah, a good shot at fight of the night, this one, I think.
Oh, yeah.
It's almost certainly going to be exciting, whichever way it ends up going. I'm with you. I think it could go either way. I get why Pantoja's a favorite, but like you, I will have both of these guys on some lineups in my own DFS teams.
People keep saying Pantoja by sub in YouTube. That is what I put in the playbook. My final prediction was Pantoja by sub.
Yeah, you
just
can get
playing the math.
Plus 400 or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know if there's enough value to bet.
That's what I'm saying. That line seems a little thin.
But that was my prediction. But yeah, I probably wouldn't get there betting line. I would just take Pantoja money line. Probably it's close enough if you like it like that.
Yeah, makes sense. Next fight on the card, we go to the big boy division. Derek Lewis, the Black Beast, against Sergey Pavlovich. Pavlovich actually a slight favorite here, minus 140 rather, and then 5 dimes with another weird line.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. I don't remember seeing anything quite like that. So I'm curious as to why
I
that is.
am too, man. I don't
Do you
know
have any
if
theories?
they know something we don't. They have very strong conviction. They want all
I
the
kind of want
action
to
on the
follow
others.
the 5 dimes lines.
Yeah, because it's different than the rest. We have to
Yeah,
find out if it's for sure correct though, but I'd be
yeah,
surprised if it wasn't.
yeah. I've never known really. Every time we've checked, the best fight odds feed has been correct on what's on
Yeah.
the actual book. So anyway, Derek Lewis, Pavlovich. We know what to expect from, especially Lewis. I think to some extent Pavlovich. Lewis can, he kind of is losing fights until he's knocks out the other guy, right? I think the most knockouts in heavyweight UFC history, I believe, for Lewis. So I'm looking forward to this one, as I do every Derek Lewis fight. They're not always the most exciting, but anytime two heavyweights with power are in there, there's just an extra level of tension. So I love these fights. What's your pick between these two?
Yeah, I mean everything you said. Again, he was like Blood Diamond, the first UFC in Houston. Derek Lewis in his hometown of Houston. I was there against the Tai Tuivasa, gets knocked out, doesn't look great. He's back in Dallas. He's in Texas. It's going to be a fun walkout for sure. More attention, like you said, when you get Derek Lewis in the octagon against a man that is bigger than him for sure, that has all the same knockout power, it's going to be a very, very interesting fight. Now it can go a couple different ways. It's minus 650 to finish DC, so everyone's expecting to finish. We sometimes see fights like this, though, where they just stare at each other because they're scared of the power, which is why I'm not going all in. You see 8,200, you see 8,000, you see minus 650 to end inside the distance. People just want to go 100% on this fight. Now, if you're only making a couple lineups, sure. But if even in 20 lineups, 150 lineups, there is a path where this fight does not deliver because they're just so worried about the power. Now, on the feet, who do I give the advantage to? I don't know. Pavlovich is the bigger fighter in this one. I think his jab is going to be better. He throws way more volume. He doubles up the Derek Lewis in the volume department in this one. But we all know the Black Beast. What does he do? He's fine losing minutes until he's not because he trusts his big power shot. I do think we can see Derek Lewis come in here and mix in his wrestling, shoot for a double leg takedown, and then if he gets it on the mat, he is an underrated wrestler. I mean, he's just so big. When he's on top of you, you're not going to get up. I do think that is a path to victory in this one for Derek Lewis, and that is why he is my pick. He's coming off a loss. He does need to rebound and get a win in this one. He's talked about it. Sergey, really good on the feet. On the feet, it's a very competitive fight. Probably Sergey does have the advantage, but I'm going to go on the narrative. I'm going to think Derek Lewis has more paths to victory because that double leg takedown is in the realm of possibilities. And if it's on the mat, I think he styles on him personally. So I'm going with Derek Lewis in this one. It's a close fight, but I'll take a little dog money on Derek Lewis, who's been there and done that.
I like the call. Love the Black Beast, and I kind of like it with I don't know, just the extra UFC experience. He's been in there in bigger.
He's fought the way better
competition.
competition.
Yeah, it just I don't know. Yeah, we've seen Lewis, come back from adversity and win fights. He can win this fight cleanly. You are right though, from a DFS perspective. Unless one of these guys gets the knockout, like even a second round knockout might not be enough, right? DFS wise, it could be, but some of Derek Lewis's, I mean, he had one that came with like 7 strikes prior to that, and he scored 83, even though he get the second round KO. So something to be aware of DFS wise for Pavlovich and Lewis. Obviously, two pretty good plays overall. Let's get to the interim title fight. Brandon Moreno, Kai Kara France. It is Moreno who is a minus 225 favorite here. I personally think that line is more than justified. I think Moreno is just the superior fighter between these two. I'm a Kara France believer, but I think he's a level behind here. So curious what you think between Moreno and Kai Kara France.
My pick is Moreno, but I disagree. If I had to bet one side of it, I would again take the dog money. I'm minus 215 is pretty wide. I love Brandon Moreno. Like I said, he is going to be my pick. I do like how he transferred camps. He is now at Glory MMA with James Krause, which I always do love to see. I think the big question for me is, can Brandon Moreno have success with the takedowns? Because if he can, I think his grappling is levels above Kai Kara France. I mean, Moreno's so good everywhere. People don't really talk about his grappling. He has 11 of his 19 wins by submission. Like, he is a stud grappler if he can get the takedowns. Kai Kara France has had very good takedowns throughout his career at 87%, though. We just saw what he did last fight against Askar Askarov as the big dog. He's stuffed 12 of 14 takedowns from him. So if this fight does stay on the feet for 25 minutes or until someone falls, I just don't think Moreno is warranted for minus 215, which is why I did say that. I think it's competitive on the feet. I really do. Kai Kara-France has a ton of power. However, Brandon Moreno has a Hall of Fame chin. He has never been finished in his whole pro career. His only one finished loss was actually in the Ultimate Fighter, where he lost to Alexander Pantoja by submission, but it doesn't count on his pro record. Again, never been finished. He's been dropped by Figgy multiple times, as we've seen, but he's rallies in that fight. He's always seems to have his wits about him. I think it's a competitive fight. Like I said, on the feet, solid volume. Kai Kara-France does land more volume on paper. Both guys have some power, but I don't think Moreno has the power to knock out Kai Kara-France, really. Maybe he does surprise me. Why I'm picking Brandon Moreno? Because he does have more paths to victory. I do think he does shoot for some takedowns, CC. I'm going to say he has success with some of them. It's a 25-minute fight. And another big thing is he has fought 25 minutes, whereas Kai Kara-France has never been in a 5-round main event. So Brandon Moreno's my pick. I picked him against Figgy. How could I not pick him in this one? I think he's the second best fighter. But you're paying for it. Minus 215 at the end of the day. You're paying for that number. On the feet, I don't think he's minus 215. I think it's a competitive fight. Wouldn't be surprised to see Kai Kara-France win a striking decision, to be honest. However, I'm going to say Moreno has some success with the takedowns. If it gets on the mat, his grappling is levels above. So that's why I'm going to say Moreno.
Yeah, to me, I love Moreno's skills, but it's just he's been in those wars with Figgy, right? And I don't know. I think that especially if this gets into championship rounds, we've seen the cardio go all 5 rounds. He's got multiple paths to victory. And I'm not sure on the striking if Moreno won't look like a decent favorite there. So
I mean, I definitely could be wrong on that for sure.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, if he's not, if Moreno styles on him there, he's going to look like a minus 500 favorite.
Yeah, I'm a huge Figueiredo believer, and so Moreno's performances against him kind of rate him even higher than.
And I had a lot of Alex Perez against Figueiredo, so I've been looking for some spots to fade. So that's why it makes some sense too.
Potentially why we're maybe a little bit different on this one, but yeah, I'm in on Moreno. Betting wise, DFS wise, I think he's going to get a finish and a big score here against Kara-France. All right, last fight on the card, the rematch, the immediate rematch between the I would say the women's MMA GOAT Amanda Nunes and Juliana Peña, who pulled off the what was it, a plus 900-ish, something like that, something
insane,
some crazy number upset over Amanda Nunes. To me, it looked like just a lack of motivation for Nunes in that fight. She just straight up kind of laid an egg. Probably didn't train very hard. Is what it is. Do you think she's got the hunger back title? Because you can get the fighter who finished that last one pretty easily as a plus 230 dog. Is Juliana Peña the champion against Nunes the challenger? So kind of a weird fight here, but interested to see what you think is going to happen. I could see this fight going a lot of different ways, frankly.
Well, you literally took the exact question I was going to ask you, because at the end of the day, motivation's all this fight comes down to.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think? Do you think I
kind of want to take a stab at the dog at plus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Betting wise, as I put in the playbook, betting wise, I think how is Juliana Peña not decide for betting? I mean, how are you going to lay the minus 270 and all that? Good thing for DFS though. I mean, there's enough dogs on the card that I think are going to come through. So you don't really have to care about the value too much. You're not laying minus 280 for that matter. But I mean, man, Nunes is better. Her skills are better wherever the fight goes. Obviously, she's the lady goat. Like if she comes in here, she trained as hard as she used to always do. She has all the motivation. Like she should come in here and wipe the floor with Juliana Peña. Peña's a tough fighter though. At the end of the day, her two biggest skills, I'll say, in this fight that are going to be used, her cardio and her durability. She is very tough. She will fight for your money, and she does have cardio. And those two things won her that last fight against Amanda Nunes. At the end of the day, like I said, I don't know how else you can break down this fight besides does Nunes have the motivation? Because if she does, she's going to knock out Juliana Peña. And that is what I'm saying. At the end of the day, I'm going to say she does find the knockout, because how could she come back here after she just got embarrassed and get embarrassed again? You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to expect she has all that she's been training, that she is motivated. She does have kids, her wife, everything. Her life is different. She is on the back half of her career. Maybe Tim thinks that her career is just starting, personally, I don't think her career is just starting. I think she might be a little out of her prime. I'm picking Amanda Nunes for sure. I wish I had stronger conviction on these two main events, though. Usually I like to like lock in one of the guys to anchor my lineups around. And that's why, like I said, I would rather lock in Morales on this card and anchor my lineups around him than I would one of these fighters in the main event. Since you get to the betting lines, I think the value's on the dogs, even though my pick is the favorite. So I guess that's the easy way out, unfortunately. I'm mixing in all four of those main event fighters. I'm going to pick Amanda Nunes. I'm going to say she didn't cut corners. She doesn't want to lose 2 times in a row. She's going to come out with a statement to be made. And if she trains how she usually does, I mean, what's Peña going to give to her? As long as she has good cardio, she fights a good game. I mean, she was winning round 1 very easily. Round 2, then Peña's hitting her with the jab. She keeps smiling, walking forward, shaking it off, and she just kept getting tagged with it, and just kept throwing overhands until she was dead. Like, it was just an awful game plan. She kept fighting. She just fed into the firefight with no cardio, and Peña's jab just kept getting there. So you got to expect a different Amanda Nunes, I'm thinking, but I'm not laying minus 280 to find that out. That's what I'm saying for betting wise.
Yeah, I'm with you on most of that. You got to think Nunes, who, you have to have a lot of drive to become the level of fighter, the best women's fighter of all time. You get kind of embarrassed, right? And you lose. And unless you're just like done fighting and this is just like your last paycheck, you would have to come back, right? You can restore your entire legacy if you're Amanda Nunes with a resounding victory here, where it's like that loss is almost just like, in terms of the way people would think about her, just like wiped from the history books, right? If you avenge the loss quickly and it's just okay for one fight, she wasn't motivated. But if she loses this one, it's like, man, everything's lost kind of for her.
Well, she still has her one belt in the division that's pretty much not even a division anymore.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying. When you lose for sure 2 in a row here, like that
I don't know what's next for sure.
Yeah. So I think the most likely thing is we see the motivated Amanda Nunes, and maybe she does get the job done, but just the line on Peña, that plus 230 is tempting as well. So that's all 13 fights. I think it's going to be a really fun card. Before you go, hit the subscribe. It does allow us to bring these videos to you each and every week free of charge. So we do appreciate that. If you want to join us over at Run Pierce Sports, please visit the website, sign up. Lots of good stuff. All the sports going on. Title's got his playbook up. Keg, who's normally here, of course, has the betting package. And football approaching. We've got plenty more baseball. All good stuff over at runpiersports.com. So check us out if you are interested. With that, we will get out of here. For Title, I'm DC, and we'll check you next time.
Good luck, everybody.